TAQ Capital. Technical analysis quickly.
This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. Before taking any action based on the information provided on this channel, it is recommended that you seek the advice of a professional licensed financial advisor.
Let's do this.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is your daily Bitcoin update. Let's take a look at the charts and see what's going on. This is the purple wedge that we're all too familiar with. It started back here on June 18th, and right now we're bouncing around the smaller yellow wedge and have been since August 19th. So let's zoom in on that. As you know, these wedges tend to move, and almost always move, exclusively move in a 1, 2, 3, 4 breakout. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to have a breakout. The problem with the yellow wedge that we have right now is that it is a sideways broadening wedge, which means the upper line goes up and the lower line points down. So it's not like this, and it's not like this. So we don't know which way it's going to break. It could break down, it could break up. Ordinarily, for instance, with these, if it goes up, it breaks down. If it goes down, it breaks up. So we just don't have that luxury. If we zoom in further to the 30-minute chart, and this is the one that has all my Fibonacci lines on it, you can see, even in the Fibonacci circles here, as well as the lines, that, you know, this comes up, hits the circle, comes back down, catches resistance along this Fibonacci line, you know, goes back down and then comes back up, finally breaks through, stops on this Fibonacci line as well as circle. It's double resistance, kind of rides the circle down, goes back up, gets stopped here, but breaks through on the next candle. So you can just see how all these things act as resistance. Sorry about that, forgot to silence my phone. But yeah, as we continue along here, once we broke out of this circle, which you can see we rode right up, we've come down, found support here. We broke through the support, have come back up and got stopped by this Fibonacci line, stopped again, and was rejected. But you can also see that this story is corroborated by the Ichimoku cloud, because we've got the red down here. So this is tending to call these candles down to it. So there's a good chance we're going to find support here for a possible break back up, or we're going to break through the support and come down lower. Now this is only the 30-minute chart. So this can change on a whim. You get, you know, a decent pump on one of these candles in a 30-minute period, and you'll have the Kijun stand right up, while possibly even going up with the Tenkin, and then, you know, it'll just take off from that point. So we want to jump up a little bit to find a cloud time frame that's more reliable, like at least the 2-hour. I would prefer to go to the 4-hour. But if we jump up periodically, this is the 1-hour, and these are pretty flat. If we jump up further to the 2-hour, we've got the Tenkin rounding down towards the Kijun. So this supports the idea that we're going to come down, break this Fibonacci, and possibly find support on both the circle and this Fibonacci line here. Jumping up to the 3-hour, you can see that the Tenkin is curling down again towards the Kijun. So that's probably also going to bring these things down, so further corroboration. And the 4-hour is just holding flat. So this isn't feeling compelled to move by volume. So, you know, as these candles have shot up like this, this is staying solid. So this means that it's probably going to get called right back down to this straight line. Again, further corroboration. Now, if you look at the wedges to see what's going on there, so I jump back down to the 30-minute chart, 1-hour chart, and turned off the Ichimoku cloud so to get less things on the screen here. We are in a red wedge that runs like this inside this white wedge. To zoom out even further, there's a teal wedge here that runs up that way, and another one that runs here. So that's the big wedge. And then within that wedge, we have this white wedge, and then within that white wedge, we have this red wedge. So now that you can see the wedges, let's talk about them. The blue wedge, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and now it's just kind of been in the middle lingering. So we don't have breakout, and because it's also a sideways broadening wedge, we don't know if we're going to break up or if we're going to break down. So let's look at the white wedge. The white wedge, we have our first hit here, second hit here, third hit here, and we don't know if necessarily, like what, hold on a second here. No, I'm off. Let me back that up. I was going to say that doesn't make sense. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Now we don't know where it's going to break out because this is a sideways narrowing wedge. It's just a symmetrical wedge. So this is going down while this is going up. So these are not guaranteed breakups or breakdowns. So we could kind of do one of these numbers and then maybe even a rejection and a bounce and then break up. Or from where we are, we could come down, bounce maybe, and break down. So it's going to be one or the other. So that's where you had to look at the Ichimoku cloud to see what it's saying. And what it's saying, as you saw, was a short-term pullback. But that short-term pullback doesn't really necessarily tell us enough to make an educated decision. So if we look at more wedges within that white wedge, you end up on the red wedge. So let me zoom in a bit. Here's our first hit on the red wedge, second hit, third hit, fourth hit. And because this line is pointing down and this line is pointing down, this means we're going to break up out of this. So the short term, as you see, we hit here, which could have been a breakout, but it looks like this is the bounce. So this will give us our short pullback that the cloud supports, and then we'll get our breakout here. With a breakout this high and this close to the white line, I think that answers our question that the white wedge is breaking up. So I think we're going to have some short-term bullish action. Then, if you also look at this purple wedge that I've got running here and here, this would mean that we've got our first hit here, second hit here, third hit here, and now we're going to work up to our fourth hit, which will eventually come down and break down and out of the purple line as it extends up this way. So we've got some short-term bullish action. So the question then becomes, if you're going to jump in on a long, when do you get out? So let's look at the Fibonacci lines and circles to see if we can determine that. So if we're going to come up and we're going to make contact with this purple line, now keep in mind, I don't have a second point yet on this purple line. So this could be something that goes like this, or it could be something that goes like this. I just threw it here just for a minute so I remember that we're now in this purple channel. But if we look at the different Fibonacci circles and lines to see what we can find from resistance, I mean, here's a circle here. So we could come up like this, break the circle, kind of come down a bit, maybe do some retracing, miss the purple yellow line here, and then go up again, hit the circle, break down a bit. This could be a multiple, I mean, what is this, the 1 hour chart? This could be a couple of days move. It doesn't have to be. It could be much faster than that. But I mean, this has been pretty slow movement that we've had, since we bottomed out on August 19th. But you have this red channel Fibonacci line that we have been wrestling with since we broke down. And you can see here, contact there, it wrote it up here, support here, and it was bouncing back and forth between the giant yellow wedge that started on June 18th, and this Fibonacci line just above it. That's a terrible line. Let me try that again. Albeit not great either, but that'll work. So when we came down and hit the yellow, we went up and hit this one, came down, hit the yellow, went up, hit this one. Tried to break through again here, didn't work. Came down, hit the yellow, stayed around the yellow, stayed around the yellow. And then this line was replaced with this line. Again, they're parallel, so Fibonacci very much playing a role. Rejection, rejection, came back down. Looked like we were going to test the yellow, but didn't, and now we're working on our way back up. So it's living and breathing by these lines. That's my only point there. So if we look I would definitely look for resistance here, no question. I would look for it on the circle, look for it on the circle. See here, we wrote it up, immediately broke down. Then we're writing up again, so if we hit that, we could immediately break down. And then we write up again to the red and immediately break down. So it could be one of those things that happens too. But if you take the purple line, for instance, if we get a wick that comes up here, get rid of that. If we come up to meet this red line, find resistance, but we wick up and bounce off of this circle, that could be enough of the double resistance to thrust us back down. So this price point here is 22.2. If we happen to break the circle, the next stop I'd say is probably this fib line. And this is going to put us more around, 22.750, something along those lines. It would also take us up to this teal line, which is our original wedge that we started forming. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then again, we don't know which way it's going to break out. So this could have just been a swoop down. We finally break here, which is the yellow wedge we've been in from the peak of the latest bull run that started on June 18th. And then we came up here. This could be our breakout. So we could have some action that takes us through this purple line, or rather we could just move that purple line to run more like this. And then this is still an upward broadening wedge. So we would have our first hit on the purple, second hit on the purple, third hit on the purple, fourth hit on the purple, which is also a breakout here, and then come crashing back down. That's a very possible scenario. And this would put us more up around 23.6 here. So there's a good chance that we've got a solid bullish run. I mean, that would give us, if we got that high, that's a good 9% run. I mean, that's going to take us back up to back here on August 17th, right before it had its massive meltdown. This would also take us to the area where we could be looking in the $24,000 mark, which is another fib circle. If enough people get behind it, we have the volume, and this pushes through this circle and comes up and hits this one. I mean, I'll draw more fib channels in here if it ends up getting that high, but I think that's being very optimistic. I would go, somewhere between 22 and 23 if I had to take a guess. And if we look for some confirmation out of the Bollinger Bands and the Ichimoku cloud on the time frames that are like 5 hours and above, you can see here that the Bollinger Bands have come down into this channel like this. And this is where the pressure builds. And then you're going to have a break up or you're going to have a break down. And because we haven't broken this yellow channel yet, I tend to think that supports the break up scenario. But again, it could just be one of these things that comes over and then is a flop. So that would, again, bring you up here. This would be around 22.8. Looking at the 6 hour, if we did get this kind of bullish action, this would start to bring the Tenkin up towards the Kijin, which, when these get closer together, starts to, I guess, plan for the next move to the up or down side. So, I mean, this would take us up to around 22.2, and I said somewhere between 22 and 23,000. So as the Tenkin comes up, you're kind of setting up for that next move. And you can see, just like on the 5 hour, we've got the Bollinger Bands doing this. So this is where pressure is going to start to build, and then a move is going to happen. It's going to take us to the next spot. So if we get a move up like this, then you'll have a Bollinger Band come up like that, do something like this, and then you'll have the next channel form like so. So as it makes this move up, then you might see a move to start to come back down again, and that's where we challenge this yellow line over here. Zooming out further on the 11 hour, you can see that this is starting to come down. You'll probably get a narrowing like this. This will take us up again to right around that 22.8 mark, which is this Fibonacci line. So this one might just be the one to watch. And then as it kind of comes back down like this, you get that second attempt here at the yellow. And what that means is when we came down and we hit, ready to break out of this channel that started on June 18th, all we did was this bounce where we came back down and then made a second attempt, which is very normal in these wedges. And then that's the one that breaks us out. So if that's the case, then we're looking at a move like this. So then you'd be looking at selling around, well, 22.8. So this is the area to watch if you're going to enter a long right here. That's good for 10%. You know, you jump in on 5x leverage, you're talking 50% run. So it's nothing to shake a stick at. But that's it for me today on Bitcoin, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. And of course, you can check out my other socials in the description below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.